Okay, we are on day 3 today, wrapping everything up. So, I will say, guys, tomorrow I do the optional Q&A for people to show up. So that's why I do say it's 3+1 days, or sometimes I call it a 4-day event because I do offer that extra day for any questions you might have, any coaching you might want to get, just kind of anything, right? So I will also say, full disclosure, I am actually a bit tired today. So if I fumble my words a little bit, that is why. My big guy is not feeling very well today, so keeping some eyeballs on him also. All right, so day 3. Remember day 1, day 2, we've been talking about the triggers, and we've been talking about how there's something deeper underneath those triggers, right? It's not actually about what just happened. There's always something a little deeper underneath. It's an unresolved situation that has happened. So what we're going to do is similar to how I treat boundaries and reinforcing boundaries, is we're going to basically rewrite the story how we want to respond instead of the reaction. Because when we get triggered, usually there's an emotional reaction that follows, or a lot of self-control and deep breaths. So think of a trigger that you would like, something that's quite often. So whether it's a specific coworker or employee, maybe it's every time you get home and your husband comes in, oh, hey, do you need help with dinner? But meanwhile, you've been cooking for a half an hour. Something that just irritates you every single time, all the time. It's kind of rinse and repeat for you. And maybe it's even the partner disconnect, right? That's like you go to engage with your partner or do something and they just kind of don't really acknowledge there's that disconnect between the two of you. That can trigger overwhelming sadness, right? That feeling of unloved. Uh, Child meltdown, of course, maybe just anytime your kid has a tantrum because there's a lot going on in your life. And for the past couple months, you just don't have the capacity to deal with this. So we're going to change that. Same thing, maybe work. Who knows? There's all kinds of different works. I know corporate, like mergers and projects, and these things can span on for many months. So it can cause a lot of extended stress and pressure. So think of that trigger you'd like to change, those emotions that come up when you do get triggered. And what is the usual default reaction, right? Write it out. Again, that pen to paper is so important. Oh, pardon me. It really, it's like it brings us into the moment. It makes things a lot more, I say real, if that's the right word, but we remember it better. It sinks in better. There is something to that pen to paper. So write out your usual default reaction to this trigger. And then what we're going to do is your wanted regulated response. You're going to write that out, where it's the, when my husband comes in and I've been cooking for half an hour already, he knows that I need help and I don't know where he is. And then he comes in, oh, hey, honey, do you need help? And your initial reaction is, yeah, of course I need help. You get triggered, you're irritated, and you're like, where the F have you been? Like, I'm tired too. I worked all day too. So instead of like actually saying all that and getting snappy, what is that response you want? Maybe it's the deep breath and be like, you know what? Yes, actually, I do need help. Can you cut up the onions? Can you grab this out of the fridge? Like whatever it, can you stir that on the stove? Whatever it is, what is that response that you want? Maybe if this is something that's very, very regular in your life, your response could be a pre-response. Like in this situation, he's going to come up, you're going to be irritated. Why don't you holler down wherever he's at or go get him and be like, listen, you do ask me if I need help during supper. I'm about to start. I know I need help. Can you please come help me? Take the initiative to avoid the trigger altogether. And really, I will say if that sort of situation is a trigger for you, then usually when you come home, you're kind of pre-triggered already. So think of options like that. Like, what is the ideal outcome, the ideal response? Maybe something to like pre-trigger response where you can kind of negate the trigger altogether. Write it out, jot it all down, point form, journal, however you do it. And then what you kind of want to do is you want to play it out in your mind. It's kind of like if you've ever memorized something, or for me, like when I read a book, I have the images in my head, like I'm watching a movie in my head. I play it out, and you want to play this out, and you want to get your subconscious and your nervous system accustomed to this response. This is a good way to start creating the habit without actually having to have the situation happen. You're going to play it out, and you're basically going to practice your response. And maybe this is something you actually need to go in your bedroom at night and actually literally verbalize and play out and pretend it's actually happening. Maybe you're more of that method actor. But if we can practice it, and again, like an actor rehearsing for a play, if we can rehearse it, we're more likely to be able to achieve that response faster because we are preparing ourselves for it, right? It works so well. I love this. It's the more we practice, the more we remember, the more it comes automatically, right? Okay. So we kind of we kind of all know this, and especially by now, emotional control equals calmness. When we are in control of our emotions, when we choose to actually control them and have that, like, nope, you're not going to have the reaction, you're going to have a response, we can create the calmness in our life. And this does take time. Remember, habits, everything needs to be formed and everything does take time. We can't just snap our fingers. Unfortunately, we would all love that to happen, but it's just not how it works. And I will say, just to remember, the emotional control, as we're starting to grasp the control, take the wheel back from the emotions and respond more than we react, that what it looks like in the beginning is being able to take that breath, being able to take that power pause and okay, and then choose the response. But that doesn't mean we're not upset, and we might like go to another room, whatever, think about it later, and we might have those emotions and we might have a hard time controlling them. Just know that that's perfectly normal. It's just part of the journey. You've just kind of removed that emotion from reacting. You still have it. The next step is to be able to understand it, why you're having it, process it, deal with that emotion, and actually let it go. Because once we deal with it, we resolve it, right? And then we're able to let it go. And when we can let those high emotions go, that's where that calmness comes in, right? We don't hang on to it anymore. We're not like bathing in it. We're not wrapping ourselves up in it and just sticking with it. We understand it, process it, deal with it, and release it, right? And then we're back to our balanced calm, our neutral, right? So this is where our identity drives our behavior. That's who we want to be. Like, do we want to be the regulated, in charge, in control, calm person? Or do we want to be reactive, the person who's getting lots of views on TikTok because they're out of control, right? So identity drives our behavior and capacity expands our identity. It allows the room, like the more capacity we have, the more room we have for expand, right? If that makes sense. These words tend to get a little bit muddled and people can think of it a little bit differently. So we won't spend too much time on that, but just know that it is all connected for sure. So having said that, just complete the sentence. I am the woman or man. I don't want to exclude you, but I do kind of cater more towards women. I am the woman who blank under pressure. And for me, it is I am the woman who remains calm under pressure. And whatever feels right to you, don't try and like force it or overthink it. Being grounded, responds instead of reacts. You can keep it super simple. You can get really deep with it. Whatever works for you. For me, remains calm. That's a nice blanket thing that I know what it means in my mind. So that works for me. I just remain calm. I don't need to get any deeper because I know what that means. I know the deepness of it. If you're like, well, that's generic and I don't like that, what does that mean? Okay, choose different words. What works for you? What resonates with you, right? Yeah. All right. Now, I'm sure as you're kind of pulling together, when we can master our emotions, we can master our life. Because if you think about it, all stress, all anxiety, overwhelm, all of that are simply emotions. So when we can control our emotions, we can control all the stress, all the anxiety, the pressure, the overwhelm. We control how we feel, how we choose to let things affect us. And when we can do that, I mean, right? We literally are controlling our lives. I just think this is when I had the first realization that stress, anxiety, overwhelm, because I always worked on controlling that, minimizing that, getting a handle on that. And then like, oh my God, these are just emotions. It all stems back to emotional control. And yes, we do have to work on the nervous system and calming that and getting ourselves out of fight or flight, of course. But again, we only have so much time. So keeping it pretty basic for now. But yeah, so when we can control our emotion, I mean, we literally can control almost every aspect of our lives because we choose how we respond. We choose to have stress or not have stress, anxiety, no anxiety. Like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, why is this so important? For me, I think this is just ultimately important for sure. And the coffee cup story. I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but it's super, super basic. But it, for me, it's just really, really effective. Where you think of, I talk about your plate or your bucket. So we're going to describe it as a coffee cup. So maybe someone's capacity, if you have a small plate, you'd have a wee little tiny teacup. Someone who has a really big plate, big capacity, might have like this giant liter mug as a coffee cup, right? So different sizes. And what it represents is when our capacity, however full that is, however big it is, when our cup is full, it doesn't matter how small or tiny the drop is that comes into that cup, it spills over because it's literally full. Like there's no more room. And that's why when we're feeling maxed out, we're feeling like the cup is full, and the husband comes in and was like, "Hey, honey, how was your day?" And you're like, "How do you think my day was? Do I look like I had a?" And you just lose your mind. Because even though his question was super innocent and caring and there was nothing wrong with it, you are maxed out. You literally have no more space for anything like good or bad. Like it is just you are here. And so the emotions are flowing, and that's where you visualize like your bucket, the drop comes in and you are just spilling everywhere, spewing emotions everywhere, covering everyone around you. And that's why, talking about that home life, if we have our capacity maxed from work and we don't save anything for home, then we spill all over our family. And that's why this is so important, because when we're just walking around with full cups all the time, we're just constantly spilling and spewing all over everyone else. And I don't know about you, but that's not the person I want to be. That's just not someone I want to be. Like I've been that person. I didn't like it. I didn't like how I was treating my boyfriend. I would snap on my dogs. They did nothing. They're dogs. They don't know. I would get irritated with my friends over nothing. Like, yeah, just not the person I want to be. So keep that visualization if it helps you, because I think it's so simple, but it's so powerful, right? you're walking around with a full cup and someone bumps into you and stuff's flying everywhere, right? Okay, so I love this. This is really good. Just really getting that good glimpse into where we are. And this is one of those things, if you want, you can screenshot it and kind of go back and keep coming back to it. I don't know, maybe once a month, once in a while, just to see where you are, how much progress you've made, and just kind of again gathering information and finding those patterns. We can never have too much information, right? So, measuring your current capacity. No emotions. We're just dealing with facts. There's no like, no shame, no guilt, no, oh, look at you, blah, blah. It just is. And I will say, and from personal experience, the more honest you can be with this, the more growth you'll be able to make. Because if we're lying to ourselves, we're fooling ourselves. Oh, my recovery is like, I'm like a 6. I recover pretty good. I might even be a 7. And yet you don't talk to your boyfriend for 4 days. No, your recovery is like a 2. You stayed mad forever. So if you think your recovery is not bad, you're not actually going to put the effort into making the changes as much as if you're like, damn, yeah, I'm a 2. I'm a 2. I own it. I'm a 2. I need to work on that. Right. So obviously you don't have to tell anyone else, but you need to be open and honest with yourself where you're at. Otherwise, you'll never make the proper changes that you want. So the recovery speed. This is, again, how quickly you recover from something. So you get into a fight, someone bumps into you in the marketplace or whatever, and you get like a little triggered by something, whatever it is, whatever that emotion comes flooding up, usually anger. How long do you stay mad? 2 hours later, are you venting to your friends? 2 days later, are you still complaining about it? You're still, the audacity of her, whatever it might be. Or is it like, 5-10 minutes or just a couple hours and you're like, okay, whatever, that's in the past, who cares? How long does it take you to recover? And I will say, if you're a 10 out of 10, then your recovery speed is like 5 minutes. Like you recover almost instantly. So most of us are not there. I'm going to say the vast majority of us may never get there, but that's okay, because I feel like anywhere in that green and we're doing pretty good. Because as I mentioned before, I was that person who didn't talk to my boyfriend for 4 days. Like, that's really bad. So if I can recover within an hour, I'm feeling pretty good about myself, right? So recovery speed, emotional control. Again, we've talked a lot about this already, but how good are you at taking that pause and choosing to respond? If you just like, and you have that reaction that comes out, your emotional control, not that great. And definitely think about as a whole, because sometimes, especially if you've been working on this already, you might have pretty reasonable control in some situations and then not so good in others. So then it's like, oh, okay, well, I used to be a 2, a giant toddler running around spewing emotions all over everyone. But now, you know what? Every once in a while, I do get a good response in. I do take that breath. I say I've moved up to a 4 now. Like, I still got work to do, but I'm better than I was. Don't discredit any work you've already done, but so kind of think of it as the overall. Think of your past week or your past, yeah, I'd say your past week is a good gauge of where you're at. Relationship presence. This is, I mean, for the most part, I like to think of it with your spouse, because that's the person you're most present with, your kids, your family. If you don't have a family, you're single, maybe you live alone, you can use obviously your friends, your roommates if you have. But I kind of put the family higher up and more important than the friends, because they're our family. But you can think of just kind of all the relationships you have. Are you present for it? If a friend, contacts you or you're having a drink with them, do you pay attention to them? Are you present in the moment? Are you giving and taking? Is there that good connection? Or are you always on your phone? You're like, "Yeah, yeah, honey, okay." And but you didn't actually hear, you're not actually paying attention. Does that relationship, when you actually really think about it, does it seem like maybe it's a bit strained? Maybe I'm almost taking it for granted, like I don't actually give it the attention it needs. Like, So just think about how present you are in your relationships, right? Because that's a big one, especially for a lot of us high achievers. We're so consumed with our work. There's almost always some sort of message or email or something to check, some sort of something coming up, someone to get back to, something to research or Google or order. And oh, right. Oh, in the middle of a conversation, right? One sec, before I forget, right? But when we do stuff like that, we're constantly telling the person that we're talking to that you're not as important as my work. So you're not being present in that relationship, right? Priorities. Yes. Thinking back from yesterday is, are your priorities aligned? And really, this is where we need to be honest and just think back to everything from yesterday. And yes, maybe today you're making some good improvements. Maybe you actually did your homework and you prioritized your number one priority. That might be, but let's go from yesterday where you're at, because I mean this in the nicest way possible. You prioritized one evening. That's amazing. But one evening does not a habit make. So we can't just, oh, yeah, I did great yesterday. I prioritized. I'm a 6 automatically, even though, well, I've been neglecting everyone in my life and my actions have not whatsoever been reflecting my true priorities. So I'm really like a 2 or a 3, right? So just be honest. If you did your homework yesterday, yes, please leave me some comments and stuff. I want to hear about it because that is so impactful. And it's so, like I said, the stories I hear from my clients are amazing. And the more we share these stories, the more it shows other people that yes, this work works. This stuff is true. And it's not just a bunch of hooey or right. So be honest, priority alignment. Where are you currently? And then self respect. This, so much of our behaviors and what we do comes back to self respect and self worth. So it really is good to check in with ourselves, because if we don't respect ourselves, then it's really difficult to make the changes we need and make them permanent if we don't even respect ourselves, right? So really think, do you uphold your boundaries? Do you how do you treat yourself? How are you when you're with your friends in those relationships? Like, right? Because this is it also taps into that identity part. Because we if we don't respect ourselves, how do we get other people to respect us? How do we be a good leader if our actions, how we talk about ourselves, all of these things actually show that picture we're painting is that we don't even respect ourselves? No one else is going to respect us, right? So, yeah. And then, of course, I have at the bottom, is this level of capacity enough to hold the life you say you want? So let's say you want to be the big business, you want to grow your business, you want to have like 100 employees, you want to have managers to manage your employees, you want to have big time business, be the big CEO, business owner, get that time, financial freedom, all of that. But do you have the capacity right now to live that life? To be able to have these people come at you with issues you have to solve and not lose your shit and yell at them, shooting the messenger and all of these things, right? It can be really hard truths, but if we don't acknowledge them and address them, it's like having an addiction. If we don't acknowledge and address the awareness of like, yes, I have a problem, then we can't change it. That's why they say in the recovery, um, what do they say? Acknowledgement is the first step, awareness is the first step, right? We have to acknowledge what we're doing in order to change it, right? Okay. Speaking of hard truth, So I just want you to think, with all this going on and all this reflection into your life, where you want to be, where you're currently at, how far you have to go. So if nothing changes, if you do nothing and you keep on keeping on how you are, where are you going to be in 6 to 12 months? Right? What does your life look like? Like for most of us, it'll either be exactly the same, like thinking back to my super stressed out days, high anxiety, stuff like that. I did have this moment where I like zoned out and I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like something's got to give. Like this, no. And I did have that thought of like, in 6 to 12 months, do I want to be sitting on the edge of my bed, low key hating my life secretly, even though I should be loving it because we had money, we had a nice house, we had a good family, we had great friends. Like I had everything, right? But I couldn't enjoy any of it. I didn't have the capacity to enjoy my life, right? Or is it like 6 to 12 months because this was also a thought I had. Am I going to be alone? Is my boyfriend even going to be here if I keep treating him like this? Right? Like these are things we have to acknowledge and we have to ask ourselves, because I've seen this too much with a lot of my clients, even my massage clients, like just my clients in general, where they just ignored and avoided the problems in their marriage until it was too late and their partner asked for a divorce. And then when they're like, oh, we can work on it, they're like, no, it's way too late for that. No. But they just, it's that if I acknowledge that there's a problem, I have to acknowledge that there's a problem, which means I'm going to have to confront it and deal with it. And that's painful and hard. And I don't want to. Right. But the other option is ignoring it so long that they're gone. Same thing, like if you ignore your mortgage for so long, you're not going to have a house. So ignoring things literally is always the worst. It just literally helps nothing. It makes everything worse. So yes, this is difficult, but this is the motivator of doing this work. Like you just think, okay, well, I do want to do this. I hear what you're saying. It all makes sense. Yeah, I'll get to it. Maybe I'll start next month. I got a lot going on right now. And then next month turns into next year, and then next year turns into a couple more years, and then, right? It's like the person who's been losing weight for 5 years and they've lost like 3 pounds, right? So this is just why it's so important to acknowledge this. And then if you are to expand your capacity, do this work, actually see that become, you are that person, but actually embrace the person you want to be, calm, cool, collected, grounded, nice, calm nervous system, responds, doesn't react, all of these great things, right? That person, that ideal person we want to be. What becomes available for you? Like maybe your work's going to get better because everyone wants to work with you. Maybe you get like 100 more clients because people are like, this person's amazing. Like, wow, I want to be her. I want to work with her because I want to be her because she's so amazing. Your family becomes so tightly knit. Like your marriage becomes the best relationship you have. Maybe your friends, like, really, what does it start looking like? When you start doing this work, you start mending those relationships, you start being able to handle anything. Husband comes up, hey honey, do you need help with dinner? You know what, I actually got this, but I would love your help anyway. How's your day been? Do you want to grab those onions? Right? You kind of see how it all could be, right? So the other thing I want to ask you is, what does having it all actually look like for you? This is different for everyone. A lot of I listen to a lot of audibles, personal growth, money, stuff like that. And for a lot of people, having it all is like mansions, millions of dollars, living in Beverly Hills, or owning an island, like all these big grand things. So having it all looks different for everybody. So this is about, what does that mean for you? For me personally, I would love to build my house here in Mexico. as well as own a house in Canmore, Alberta. And I don't know, maybe invest in some property in Tanzania. My boyfriend and I love Tanzania. But having these luxuries of being able to travel to places I own, having the money for all of that, however much money that needs to be, and working about 4 hours a day, maybe 6 hours a day, having lots of downtime, having the boyfriend, and just having that time and money freedom where whatever comes up, hey, we can jump on a plane and go visit the family for the weekend. Hey, we can grab that. Oh, the whatever broke down, the car needs to be fixed. No problem. The money's sitting in the bank, ready to go. Like, what does having it all look like? Good success, happy home life. I don't want to say not a care in the world because we're all humans and life happens, but just being happy, right? So just kind of play out, what does that look like for you? And then what do you need? I should probably reword that. Who do you need to become to hold that life? So more like, what habits and beliefs do you need to implement to have that life? Right? Is it, yeah, I need to get that emotional control. I need to calm my nervous system so I can stay calm. I need to have the capacity to expand my business tenfold. What are those things? Because this is good when we start getting that roadmap of like, what are my steps to actually achieving this? Right? I need to, yeah. Step one, learn the power pause and stop emotionally vomiting on everyone. Right? Whatever that looks like, what do you need to do? What are your steps? And maybe the first couple you list out are very like, I need to work on my responding, not reacting. I need to stop snapping at my husband and have a real conversation with him about how tough things are for me and how much I'm trying. Goes a long way. Communication is key, guys. We don't have time to get into that today, but it really is. And then maybe the later steps get really broad. Expand my business. Be making $1 million a year, a month, a day, whatever that business looks like. Own property to travel. Be able to charter flights. Like, you can keep the long term pretty generic, and maybe the short term, or you just keep it all generic, or maybe you have so much fun with this and you just list out lots of things, like whatever works for you, right? And then when we can also plan out that, what does it look like and how do I get there, we start actually believing we can have it. And of course, we all can have it. We just have to be willing to do the work to get there. That's all, right? And that gives us something to look forward to, something to work for, a goal to strive for, which lights the fire under our butts and gets us motivated. Right? Okay, so we've proven in the past 3 days that you can shift your state. You can shift from that emotional reactivity to taking that pause, calming everything down, and having a response. We know that. You can go from emotional to calm. Like, we have the power if we have the control, right? But the lasting change where it's like for life doesn't happen in awareness. Awareness is the first step. So they call it a 12-step program for addiction, because there's more steps. If, again, we're just aware of it and we change everything, no one would have any issues, because as soon as someone pointed it out, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm good, right? So it happens in the repetition, the real time, and when the real pressure happens. This is one of the reasons I actually created my Voxer program. It's like a walkie-talkie. So when my clients have real issues, oh my God, this just happened, blah, 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 they come in there, they tell me exactly what's going on in that moment, and then I can get back to them right away. There's no need to wait for like the next appointment, the next meeting, the next this. It's just same day. All right, what's going on? Like, right? Because it happens in the real time when the pressure is on, right? So that's all my programs are kind of catered around that real time in the moment. And the repetition, because again, what do they used to say, it takes 20 times of doing something to create a habit. I find that differs for most people. For me, it's like 2 months of doing the same thing repetitively. For me, that really creates the habit. That lets it sink in, that lets my subconscious absorb it. And then after about 2 months, then I find I'm good. So that's how I know, because I've done all of this stuff before. It takes that repetition, repetition, repetition. It's like, how do you learn to do anything? You learn to walk by trying again and falling. You learn to ride a bike because you try again. We have to learn, we have to create habits, and we have to do that through repetition, right? So that's why it's important to continue this work ongoing. And these videos will be here so you can rewatch them as much as you want. Don't worry about that. So yeah. And then of course, I have my boyfriend to help me. Very few people can do this work alone. It's really tough, especially when you're in the moment, in that emotion. It has the wheel. It's really tough to see that yourself and call yourself on your own BS. I had my boyfriend to help me through my journey. I didn't actually know what coaching was or that it existed when I went through all of this stuff, but my boyfriend, thankfully, is a natural born coach. So I had him to help me through all of this. So I really do believe it's about having the daily support you need, like when you need it. Because it really can be tough. Like if something happens on Monday, but you just had your meeting with your coach on Saturday, you've got to try and write this down and remember it all week long. And if you're already stressed and stuff's going on, like it's really hard to come back to something like that. Or it can be. Some people are good at it, but it really is important. So whether you want to continue with me, continue with someone else, maybe you have a great husband like my boyfriend is, you start like enlisting their help. But it really is important to have support because very, very few of us can do it ourselves. Like I said, there was countless times where my boyfriend would be like, I don't believe I deserve that. And I would be like, oh, you're right. That actually came out way more aggressive than I wanted it to. I'm really sorry. You're right. You did nothing. This is a me problem. I'm feeling frustrated over XYZ. And then I'd start a conversation and we'd work through it, right? You can't do that on your own when you're all wrapped up in the emotion, just seething in it, right? So, all right. So if you feel that you receive value from this, I kindly ask that you leave a review, a testimonial, some kind words in the comments. Maybe you pass this along, you share it on YouTube, you share the link to a friend, whatever it might be. Maybe you go on my LinkedIn or my Facebook page and you leave me a nice review, some nice words, and just, share it. So the more of us that can do this work, I mean, the more of us that can be emotionally in control, not be giant adult toddlers wandering around, and actually communicate and be in control, responsible adults. Like I feel like the world generally is a better place at that point. So if you know someone in your life who needs this, someone who's wound really tight, who needs to calm down a bit, maybe they have a hard time leaving their house because their anxiety is crippling or whatever. And like I said, you got good value from this. Pass my name, pass this along to them, and yeah, share the growth. And of course, if you would love to continue the journey working with me, I would love to chat with you about that. What the best way is to support you in this journey, because there are a few options and you never know until we start diving in and really seeing what suits your life, your dreams, your plans, what suits you best. So book a call. We can chat about it. It is perfectly free, obligation free, literally just a conversation. That is it. No obligations, no nothing. So, all right, guys, it has been wonderful. Obviously, as you can tell, I do love this work. I'm so passionate about it because, again, I have been there. I've done that. And I know the night and day difference between stuck in that stress, that overwhelm, that small capacity, and doing the work and coming out the other side. And like I said, last year I got rear-ended old me would have lost my mind. My dogs were in the truck. I mean, I love my truck anyway. It's one of my babies. And I just I didn't freak out. I took my breath and I just did what needed to be done. And after 4 hours, waiting for the cops, waiting for insurance, doing all the paperwork, after 4 hours in the blistering heat, thank God friends came and brought us some water and stuff. And I used almost a half a tank of gas running the AC to keep my babies cool. I actually played my music driving home with my dented up bumper, singing to the song, just feeling great about life because I was so proud of myself, how I handled that. No one died. Everything's fine. Life is good, right? And I just carried on. And I never thought in my life I'd be able to do something like that. Or even the fact that we literally picked up our entire lives and moved to Mexico. I would have never been able to do that with crippling stress, crippling anxiety, all the overwhelm. I would have collapsed along the way somewhere. There's so many things, even having both dogs having major surgery within 2 months of each other. One was a week before Christmas. I didn't lose it. I didn't collapse. I didn't like cry or completely zone out and emotionally abandon them for a day or anything. I handled it. I problem solved and we got through it. And so I just know how valuable this is and the amazing difference it can make. So yeah, I'm going to actually share that screen one more time. So if you are ready for this yourself, you're ready to make these changes, you're ready to be the saying that always pops into my head, large and in charge, being calm, cool, collected. And it doesn't really matter what life throws you because you're like, it's okay. I may not enjoy it. I may not like it, but I know I can handle it, right? Book a call. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's a good fit for you and your steps moving forward. All right, guys. Have a wonderful until I see you next time.